So as we continue today, we want to just kind of talk about why marketing. I think as I talk to Christian leaders, I get to work with Christian and nonprofit leaders with Clickmill all over the United States on a daily basis. And a lot of times as I'm talking to them, it's like, well, this seems kind of arbitrary. Why do we need to be talking about marketing? We're pastors. And so as I work with Clickmill, I get to work with as I work with Clickmill, I get to work with Christian organizations and nonprofits all over the country. I also work full-time with a full-scale digital marketing firm. And with that marketing firm, it's just secular businesses. And as I engage with both of these equally, there's a very large divide in how these groups approach reaching people and how these groups approach marketing and inspiring people and doing these types of things. And one of the kind of key elements that businesses and the secular business world focuses in on, like on an incredible level, is trying to understand the formula, the exact things that we need to do to influence people to take action. What inspires people? What needs do they have that we can meet? And how can we meet them powerfully and efficiently and quickly? And that's marketing. And so for-profit businesses are spending advertising money, millions and billions and trillions of dollars, and that's not an exaggeration. Personally, I have spent over $1 million in advertising. And what we do with advertising is we put money toward particular places and we say, this got a lot of results and this didn't get much results, so we're not going to do that anymore. And then we do it again and again. And this is what the for-profit business sector does to figure out what is the most effective way to get people to do something. And they're also doing this through psychology and a bunch of other strategies. And there is a very high pressure for them to perform, because in the business world, if you do not have the best product and service, you go out of business and you don't have a job. And what that means is they're always looking for the best way to meet a need as efficiently as possible. And if they don't do it better than the guy next door, they also go out of business. So they're not just trying to meet the best need, they're trying to do it better than everybody else who's trying to do it for them. Now, when we look at the Christian church, we tithe because we feel convicted. The Lord, that's what the Lord wants of me, and he gave his life for me, and he owns everything I have, so I'm going to tithe on Sunday. And what that means is that the income for the Christian church is not directly related to the products or the services that we offer our community. And that can lead then to a lack of direct motivation, that pressure that the for-profit world has. We don't have the same pressure to fine-tune exactly what we give people. And so because there's that disconnect, we're moving slowly as a whole, as a Christian church, I would say in the United States at least, because that's where my experience is. And because there's this lack of pressure, well, let me give you an example. As coronavirus has sort of been going on, the Christian church, like with you guys, for example, huge changes very quickly. You were not online, you did not have a digital church campus. And, I know Shaiju and Gavin and everybody who was putting that together. And in 1 week, you guys moved mountains and you're online with one campus. And then shortly after that, you're online with 6 campuses, 1 week after that. That's massive innovation very quickly. That is akin to what the business world does all of the time. That's where they're at all of the time. To give you a perspective, as I talk with Christian nonprofits, we kind of go, those business people, it's all about money. And when I talk to business people, they largely don't understand the nonprofit world at all. And so I stand in the middle and I see the best of both. And so today I want to take the efficiency of the business world and give it to you. Now, also with your, I believe, Easter service, how we're meeting needs, complete change, how do we help people and how do we get to as many of them as possible? My understanding is that took a lot of work to put together in a very short amount of time. And that level of pressure is what the business world is in every single day. And that's what drives them to perform. And my experience in the coronavirus is once churches realized we're not going to be able to be open this week, my phone started ringing off the hook. I had pastors saying, I have to be online by Sunday. And so my offer was, we'll have you online in 48 hours. And one after the other, just cranking these things out. And so the church took a 90-degree turn because they realized this is critical. If we're not online, we're not in business anymore. And that's what the business world does every day. And just one more, this was actually really funny. I was talking with Christian Academy, I think 2 days ago. And we were looking at advertising possibilities, and I was showing them on the Google homepage, Christian Academy, and they said, and I showed them what ads are, and they looked up Christian Academy, and they said, well, hey, there's already an ad there for Christian Academy. Who's that? And I said, I don't know. Who is it? Well, as it turns out, there is another Baptist school locally who's advertising for your name. So when people look up Christian Academy, people are going to the Baptist Academy. And they were I don't know if they're in here. Is it over here? Yes. And they're like, this is appalling. You have to beat them. You have to get an ad on top of them. They can't be taking ours, And again, that's how the business world works every day. In the business world, I write advertisements for secular companies to advertise to their competitors because they are actively trying to put each other out of business. And that's kind of a not a good thing, but on the other side, it's a very good thing because it drives everybody to be better. So competition helps us to meet needs more importantly, and that's how we become essential. So with the Christian church, because we don't have this pressure, and I'm speaking generally on a whole, Christian churches are perfectly situated to be very effective marketers in 1980. That's about how well we're keeping up on the large scale of things. And I think a lot of times in the church, we don't like to think that we don't like business. And we just say, we're not a business. And when I was in Fort Myers with Pastor Betzer's church over there, First Assembly, have you guys heard of Pastor Betzer? Familiar? Okay. Yeah, really big Assemblies of God pastor. He would say from the podium, he's like, don't be confused. The reason this ministry works the way it does is because we treat it like a business, because we're about the business of God. This is God's business, and it's about bringing people to Christ. And if we don't treat it like a business, if we don't bring in more money, we don't have money left to go and get people. Because it takes money to drive a bus and go and do a missions trip or do an outreach or whatever it is, put on Encounter. So he was very specific. He said, this is a business. And I think as a result of the church's disconnection from the products and services, largely, and this is something Pastor Coe, I've heard him talk about from stage, it has made us not essential. Because we're not deeply driven to meet needs, people don't feel like they need us. They don't feel like they need us, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how do we become essential again? And I think that this is really, really apparent when we just think about the fact that in every single household on this island is McDonald's, and it's not the church. Because the business world knows the strategies and they know the formulas to get people inspired to take action over hamburgers that are really disgusting, Now, what's really ironic is that when we look at the Bible and we look at what Jesus is doing, and we're going to be doing this today, and then we look at what the modern business corporate world does, it is almost as if they opened a Bible and they said, Jesus does these 5 things and we're going to do it too. And it's really, really ironic because as the church, we're not doing that much of the time. And you have this sort of Xbox or computer in a pyramid thing going on. And in the Old Testament, we see the law saying, don't touch a dead body and then eat food. Don't eat raw meat. Don't drink blood. And at the time, they're going, gosh, this is a lot of rules. Why do we need to do this? And thousands of years later, we've got biologists, and it turns out, that's how you get the plague or whatever you get. And we figured it out. Well, Jesus is doing the same thing. Jesus is a masterful influencer of people, and there are certain things he does, and he gets people to take action. You know, the biggest cultural, ideological shift in the entire history of the world came from one man. How do we do that? How do we influence people like that? Well, the modern business world has sort of, I would say, rediscovered these principles that Jesus used to influence people. But they don't think they rediscovered it. They just think they discovered it in the last 80 to 100 years as industry has developed, and they started understanding psychology, and they started doing investments into advertising and all of these different things. They've just sort of whittled it down piece by piece and said, here are the things that work. And those are exactly the things that Jesus did in the scripture we're going to be looking at. And if we just looked to the scripture and did what he did, we would be equally competitive and equally, if not more impactful than the modern business corporate world. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And as we get started, I would like you with your table. We're going to take maybe 3 minutes. I want you to have a discussion with your table. I'll call on a couple of you, and I want you to tell me some things you're going to do and some things you're not going to do today to make sure that you're going to take as much of this home with you as you can. We're going to go over tons of information. And some of it is going to be relevant to you. Some of it may not. I know Pastor Sam. Where's Pastor Sam? Maybe not in here. Pastor Sam is very excited, and I know he wants to talk about men's group and marketing strategies for men's group, and that might not feel entirely relevant to you. But as we take these couple minutes, I want you to be coming up. Here's what I'm going to do to make sure I'm taking everything with me. Here's some things I'm not going to do to make sure I'm taking everything with me. We're going to be in here for a long time, so let's do that. And also, would one person at each table volunteer to be a timekeeper? Because we're going to try to keep these pretty timed as we go through. Maybe who would like to do it over here? Timekeeper. We've got someone getting volunteered. Okay, we've got timekeeper. We got someone here. We've got one here. Back table. Wonderful. You good? Guys here, we got one. Wonderful. Okay, why don't we just go ahead and set the timer for 3 minutes?
Don't stop now. We have tons of other videos for you to watch and learn how to reach more people more effectively. If you loved this video and you don't want to miss out on what we have coming up for you next, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to keep up to date on our newest content. If you'd like to work with Clickmill personally, head on over to clickmill.co, where you can learn more about our proven marketing strategies. I look forward to seeing you in the very next video.